The champagne glass shattered a full second before Alicia Whitaker hit the marble floor. Crystal burst into glittering shards that flashed under the ballroom lights like a warning. Then came the heavy thud of her body, and the room, packed with donors and polished smiles, broke into screams. Alicia had felt it coming. The tilt first, the chandelier spinning. Then her heart, already compromised, stuttered once, twice, and for one terrifying beat seemed to forget its own job. This is it, she thought, oddly calm. This is how I die. In a $5,000 gown, at a charity gala, surrounded by people who will cry at my funeral and still not remember my middle name. When she opened her eyes again, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Ceiling tiles rushed past as a gurney rattled under her spine. An oxygen mask pressed tight against her face, forcing air into lungs that felt too small. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and cold coffee, and fear that never quite washes out. Pressure's dropping. Stay with me, Alicia. A face hovered above her, handsome, worried, perfectly composed in the way Damian Whitaker always was when people were watching. I'm here, he said, gripping her hand. His other hand held his phone. Alicia tried to speak, but the mask turned everything into fog. Don't talk, Damian murmured. Just breathe. We're getting you help. The ER was bright and cold. Nurses moved fast. Someone cut the dress off her without hesitation. Machines beeped in different pitches. Leads stuck to her chest. A cuff squeezed, released, squeezed again. Then Dr. Renee Caldwell appeared at her bedside, a familiar anchor in a storm. Renee had been her best friend since college, through endometriosis, through failed IVF cycles, through the long, humiliating stretch of infertility that turned hope into a bruise. Renee had sat with her when the last specialist said gently, I'm sorry, your odds are essentially zero. Now Renee's face was professional, but her eyes were personal. Alicia, she said softly, taking her hand, I'm here. You're going to be okay. What happened? Alicia forced out. Your valve stenosis, Renee replied. The issue we've been watching. Your heart's under stress. We need labs and imaging. Alicia nodded because nodding was easier than asking the question that lived in her bones. How much longer can my body keep betraying me? They drew blood. They rolled in a portable ultrasound machine. Renee's movements were precise, until she looked at the screen. Alicia watched her expression shift. Confusion, disbelief, then a flash of fear. When was your last period? Renee asked, voice tightening. I don't know. 2 months? Maybe 3? My cycle's always been irregular. Renee moved the wand again, pressed harder, stared as if the screen might correct itself. What is it? Alicia whispered. Renee turned the monitor toward her. In the gray static, a small white flicker pulsed. A heartbeat. Alicia's breath caught so hard her ribs ached. No, she said. That can't be. Alicia, Renee whispered, almost reverent. You're pregnant. The word hit like a slap and a kiss at the same time. 15 years of never rose up to fight it. 15 years of syringes, paperwork, and quiet grief in bathroom stalls. Damian stepped closer. Pregnant? How? I don't know, Renee said. But it's real, about 12 weeks. Alicia stared at the screen, like it was a door she'd been pounding on for a decade and a half, now opening without explanation. Then Renee swallowed. There's more, she said. More! Alicia's voice cracked. Renee shifted the wand. Another flicker. Another heartbeat. Then a third. You're not carrying one, Renee said. You're carrying 3. For a second, Alicia couldn't hear anything. Not the monitors, not the hallway noise, not Damian's sharp inhale. Triplets, Alicia managed. Renee nodded. Triplets. Damian laughed, bright, relieved. This is incredible, he said. Alicia, we're having babies. 3. Alicia wanted to laugh too. She wanted to believe the universe had finally apologized. But Renee wasn't smiling. Renee turned the ultrasound off and pulled a chair close. She held Alicia's hand in both of hers. "I need you to listen very carefully," she said. Alicia's stomach dropped. "Okay." "Pregnancy puts enormous strain on the heart," Renee said. "One baby does. Triplets are a storm. Your stenosis has been manageable because we've monitored you constantly, but this could push you into heart failure." Alicia waited for comfort. She waited for, "We'll fix it." Instead, Renee said, "Carrying them to term could kill you." Silence spread across the room. "How long?" Alicia asked, voice thin. Renee's eyes shone. "If we're lucky, maybe 6 months. Maybe less. The babies need 7 to 8 months in utero for the best chance." 6 months, 8 months, a countdown inside a body that had finally done the impossible. "We need to discuss options," Renee added carefully. Alicia understood options. Options were tidy words for brutal choices. She pressed her hand to her abdomen, still flat, no curve, no proof, just the idea of 3 small lives, already beating. "I want them," she said. "I've wanted them for 15 years. I'm not giving up now." Damien's voice broke. "Alicia, please!" She looked at him, and whatever lived in her eyes stopped him mid-sentence. "For 15 years it's been me," Alicia whispered. "My body failing, my hope failing. For once, it isn't about me anymore. It's about them." Renee squeezed her hand. "Okay," she said softly. "Then we fight. We monitor you constantly. We do everything we can." They admitted her overnight. Private room, quiet hallway. 3 tiny heartbeats tapping on the monitor, slightly out of sync, like rain on a tin roof. Damien stayed for an hour, kissed her forehead, told her he had calls. His phone never left his hand. "I'll be back early," he promised. He left before visiting hours ended. After he was gone, the room felt bigger and lonelier. Near midnight, the door opened and Gloria Whitaker rushed in, wearing pajama pants and a coat thrown over them, her hair wrapped in a scarf like she'd left home without thinking. "Baby," Gloria whispered. And when she hugged Alicia, Alicia smelled lavender and the familiar safety of home. "Tell me." Alicia told her everything: the collapse, the triplets, the 6 months, the impossible math. Gloria's eyes filled. She cried once, quickly, then wiped her face like tears were a luxury. "You listen to me," Gloria said, cupping Alicia's cheeks. "Whitaker women don't quit. Fear means you're paying attention, but fear doesn't get to drive." "I'm scared," Alicia admitted. "Good," Gloria said. "Now we get smart." The next morning, Renee returned with printed ultrasound images, 3 blurry proofs that Alicia's life had changed overnight. Alicia traced the shapes with her fingertips. "How long do I really have?" she asked. "If we're lucky, 6 months," Renee said. "Maybe you make it to 30 weeks. Maybe the babies survive. Maybe you do too." Alicia nodded. "Then we make 6 months count," she said. Renee swallowed. "What do you need from me?" Alicia's throat tightened. "Promise me something. If it comes down to me or them, choose them, every time." Renee's eyes spilled over. "Alicia! Promise." Renee squeezed her hand. "I promise." On the drive home, the world looked too normal. Blue sky, traffic, billboards. Like life hadn't just rewritten itself. Inside the house, every sound felt louder: the click of the front door, the hum of the refrigerator, the steady tick of the grandfather clock. Damien set her bag down. "Rest," he said. "I'll work from home. Keep an eye on you." He said it like devotion, but his phone was already glowing in his hand. Alicia lowered herself onto the couch where she'd cried after every negative test, the couch where she'd once suggested adoption, and watched Damien change the subject. She stared at the ultrasound pictures until her vision blurred. "Hi," she whispered to the 3 heartbeats she couldn't yet feel. "I'm your mom. I'm here. And I'm going to protect you." Her phone buzzed. A notification lit the screen. A message preview from Damien, that wasn't meant for her eyes. Alicia's breath caught, because one small line of text can turn a terminal cancer pregnancy miracle into a battlefield. And if you think a dying woman is weak, you've never watched a mother become a weapon. If you're still with me, don't go anywhere right now, please. Hit that like button if you believe mothers who fight deserve to be remembered. And drop a comment telling me where you're listening from tonight. Because what Alicia discovers next is the first move in a long game of estate planning, living trust paperwork, and a hospice clause that will decide who gets to call her children family. Damien's phone lit up again. Just a quick pulse of blue in the dim living room, harmless-looking light, the kind that can still cut you if you stare long enough. Alicia didn't grab it. She didn't ask who it was. She watched Damien angle the screen away on instinct, like his hands had practiced the motion even when his mouth insisted nothing was wrong. "Work," he said, too quickly, already moving toward his study. "I've got to jump on a call." The door clicked shut. Alicia sat on the couch with one palm spread over her stomach, listening to the grandfather clock tick like it was counting down her life in polite, even beats. 3 heartbeats had moved into her body, and something sharp had moved into her marriage. She tried to tell herself she was imagining it. She'd just been in an ER. She'd just heard triplets and heart failure in 6 months. Trauma makes you suspicious. Fear makes you see shadows. But Alicia had been married long enough to know the difference between fear and distance. The distance had been building for months. It hadn't started with a champagne glass shattering at a charity gala. It had started earlier, subtle, like a crack you don't notice until the whole wall shifts. It started around their 15th anniversary, one of those nights that should have felt soft and meaningful, but felt strangely staged. Damien reserved a private room at a restaurant downtown. Candlelight, expensive wine. Then he gifted her a diamond bracelet that was stunning and wrong. Too sudden, too much, like he'd bought it to cover a sentence he didn't want to say. He'd been on his phone that night too, not the normal checking email thing, the hidden kind. Screen down. Notifications muted. Quick glances when she left the table. A private smile he didn't share with her. Alicia had asked, gently, "Are you okay?" Damien had smiled the smile he used on investors. "I'm fine. The company's in a season." A season? A convenient word for pressure. Alicia had accepted it because she was exhausted from trying to become a mother. Infertility teaches you how to live in increments, appointments, lab draws, ultrasounds. A long vocabulary of unlikely. And always, hovering behind it all, the heart condition, valve stenosis, forcing every doctor to speak as if her body might shatter if they used the wrong words. In the early years, Damien had been present. He'd held her hand through procedures. He'd driven her home in silence, when silence was kinder than false optimism. He'd whispered, "We'll get there," into her hair like he believed it. Then his career exploded. The Whitaker Group went from successful to untouchable. Big numbers, bigger rooms, health tech deals and hospital acquisitions. Philanthropy that looked like generosity and functioned like influence. Damien learned how to make strangers feel like they mattered. Alicia learned how to wait. Damien started coming home later. Then he started not coming home at all. At first, Alicia excused it. Board meetings, investor dinners, conferences. She refused to be the wife who complained about ambition. She'd been raised by Gloria Whitaker, a woman who worked hard and expected you to handle your own storms. So Alicia handled it. She handled it until the pattern stopped feeling like work and started feeling like avoidance. 2 days before the gala, the pattern finally left a fingerprint. Alicia had been home alone, resting because Renee had told her to take it easy even before the collapse. Damien texted, "Investor meeting. All day. Don't wait up." Then her phone rang. "Mrs. Whitaker?" a cheerful voice said. "This is Pine Ridge Country Club. We have Mr. Whitaker's jacket from Sunday brunch. He left it in the dining room. Would you like us to hold it or have it cleaned?" Sunday brunch. Alicia had stared at her kitchen wall as if it might offer an explanation, because on Sunday, Damien had told her he'd been at the office. "Have it cleaned," she'd managed. "We'll pick it up." She'd hung up and stood there with her hand on the counter, feeling that familiar, humiliating sensation, your mind building excuses while your body already knows the truth. Now, back on the couch, she heard Damien's muffled voice behind the study door. Low, pleasant, private. She pressed her palm to her stomach again and whispered, "Hi," to three miracles she couldn't feel yet. "I'm your mom. I'm here." Her front door opened, and the house filled with movement, fast steps, a bag dropped on a counter. Keisha Grant arrived like a storm. Keisha had been Alicia's best friend through the years when baby showers felt like knives. She was the kind of friend who didn't ask permission to protect you, the kind who showed up with groceries and solutions. "Triplets," Keisha said, breathless, eyes wide. "Do you understand how wild that is?" Alicia tried to smile. "I'm still catching up." Keisha's gaze flicked to the ultrasound pictures on the table, then to Alicia's hand resting over her abdomen. "And you're keeping them," Keisha said. It wasn't a question. "I am," Alicia replied, "even with my heart." Keisha studied her face, then nodded once. "Okay. Then we go into protection mode." Protection mode. The phrase landed heavy because Keisha used it when someone was trying to play you, when paperwork mattered, when feelings were a luxury. Alicia swallowed. "Keisha?" "What?" Keisha's voice softened, but her eyes sharpened. "Tell me what your gut is screaming." Alicia hesitated. Then she told her about Damien's phone, about the way he angled the screen away, about the country club call. Keisha didn't blink. "That's not confusion," she said. "That's a lie." Before Alicia could argue, Gloria appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, her face set the way it got when she was deciding what to do rather than what to feel. Gloria had driven in from out of town the moment Alicia came home from the hospital. She didn't do panic. She did plans. "I heard enough," Gloria said. "Illness reveals character." Alicia's throat tightened. "I don't want to be paranoid." Gloria's expression didn't soften. Paranoia is imagining danger without evidence. Instinct is recognizing a pattern before your pride gives it a name. Keisha leaned closer. "Listen, I'm not trying to stress you out, but this," she gestured toward the closed study door, "is exactly when predators circle. Money, power, a wife with a failing heart. That is when a mistress inheritance scheme stops being a rumor and becomes a strategy." The words made Alicia's skin prickle. She hated that they sounded plausible. Alicia's hand drifted over her stomach, protective without permission. "So what do we do?" "We gather facts," Keisha said. "Quietly. No confrontation, not yet, because stress can steal time and you don't have time to spare." Alicia looked down at her ultrasound pictures. Triplets after 15 years. A clock ticking. Keisha continued, practical as a checklist. "Start with statements. Any unusual spending, any new accounts, and Alicia, estate planning, immediately. A living trust, at minimum. And if you want those babies protected, you need an irrevocable trust for children, something that keeps assets out of anyone's reach." Estate planning. The phrase tasted like admitting defeat, but Renee's voice echoed in her head. "6 months, maybe less," Alicia whispered. "I don't even know where Damien keeps the documents." Gloria answered before Keisha could. "Then you get your own counsel," she said. "Not his," Alicia blinked. "Who?" Gloria didn't hesitate. "Howard Langston. Your father trusted him. He doesn't play. He'll build a fortress if you ask him to." Alicia felt something steady inside fear. Not peace. Purpose. She'd spent years begging her body for a miracle. Now that she had one, she wasn't going to let anyone steal it. "Okay," Alicia said, voice low. "Call Howard." Keisha was already reaching for her phone when, upstairs, Damien's laugh slipped under the study door. Soft, warm, meant for someone else. Alicia didn't know the details yet. She didn't know the name or the face. She didn't know how close the threat already was, but she understood one clean truth. This wasn't just a terminal cancer pregnancy miracle anymore. This was going to become an estate planning revenge story. Revenge not as rage, but as protection. A living trust. An irrevocable trust for children. A guardianship clause. And if anyone challenged it, the DNA results would slam the door shut. And somewhere in the paperwork Howard Langston was about to draft, there would be one line that mattered more than Damien's charm, more than his money, more than his promises. A hospice clause that decided who got to call her baby's family when she couldn't. The first time Alicia Whitaker said the words out loud, "Hire an investigator," her voice didn't shake. It should have. She was 20 minutes past a cardiology appointment, still tasting the chalky afterburn of a new medication on the back of her tongue. Still wearing the hospital wristband because Renee had insisted she keep it on until the last scan was reviewed. Her body felt like it belonged to someone older, someone whose bones carried storms. But the fear that should have softened her had hardened into something else. Resolve. Keisha Grant sat at Alicia's kitchen table with a notebook open, a pen poised like a weapon, and Gloria Whitaker standing behind her with a cup of tea that nobody was drinking. Upstairs, Damien was on another call, his voice low and gentle, the kind of tone he never used when he spoke to employees. Alicia listened to that muffled warmth and thought of the Pine Ridge Country Club receptionist saying Sunday brunch as if it were nothing. She lowered her hand to her belly again. 3 lives, 3 reasons. "Do it," Alicia told Keisha. "Just do it quietly." Keisha nodded. "I'm calling Marcus Delaney." Gloria's eyes narrowed. "Ex-cop?" "Former," Keisha said. "Now private. He's discreet and he's fast." "Fast," Alicia repeated, and her heart gave a strange, uneven beat. "That's what I need." Because time wasn't a calendar anymore. Time was a heart valve and a countdown. Keisha stepped onto the back patio for privacy. The glass door slid shut with a soft click, sealing Alicia in with the hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the grandfather clock. Alicia stared at the clock, the way its pendulum moved like it had all the time in the world. Damien came out of his study 10 minutes later, phone in hand, tie loosened like he wanted to appear tired. "Keisha's here," he said, as if noticing her was an inconvenience. "She's helping," Alicia replied. Damien's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Of course." He kissed Alicia's forehead. He smelled expensive, citrus and cedar and something floral that didn't belong to him. Alicia breathed through it. She didn't flinch. She didn't give him the satisfaction. "What did Renee say?" he asked, finally looking like a husband. Alicia chose her words carefully. "We're monitoring. It's early." Damien nodded too quickly. Good. We just need to stay positive." His phone lit up. He angled it away. Habit. Alicia watched him and thought, "If you're hiding something from me now, you've been hiding it for a while." Damien cleared his throat. "I'm going to run to the office, just for an hour. There's a board item. You said you'd work from home," Gloria interrupted, voice calm but sharp as a scalpel. Damien blinked. "Mrs. Whitaker, Gloria, Call me Gloria," she said, "and stay home. Your wife nearly died 2 days ago." Damien's jaw tightened the way it did when someone challenged his control. "I'll be back," he said, then leaned down to Alicia. "Rest, please." He left before Alicia could respond. The front door clicked. The house went too quiet. Keisha came back inside with that look, focused, grim, energized by a plan. "Marcus will start tonight," she said. "He'll pull a timeline. Where Damien goes, who he's with, what money is moving. You want the truth? You'll have it." Alicia exhaled slowly. "I don't want drama." Keisha's mouth curved humorlessly. "Then you married the wrong man." Gloria sat beside Alicia and wrapped her hand around Alicia's wrist the way nurses check a pulse. Her thumb lingered where Alicia's heartbeat fluttered under thin skin. "You're already stressed," Gloria murmured. "But stress can be managed. Betrayal can't. Betrayal has to be confronted." "Not now," Alicia whispered. Gloria looked her in the eyes. "Then later, but you will confront it." That night, Alicia lay in bed while Damien slept beside her, one arm flung across the pillow, like a man who'd done nothing wrong. The glow of his phone lit the room twice, once at 11:14, once at 1:03. Both times, his hand reached for it without waking fully, like the motion lived in muscle memory. Alicia stared at the ceiling and pictured 3 tiny hearts beating inside her. She pictured a 4th heartbeat, hers, trying to keep up. In the dark, she made a promise she didn't speak out loud. If I'm dying, you won't be the one who decides what my children inherit. You won't be the one who decides who raises them. You won't be the one who rewrites me into a cautionary tale. The next morning, Howard Langston arrived at 9 sharp. Howard looked like a man carved from patience and consequence. 60s, salt and pepper hair, suit that fit without trying, eyes that missed nothing. He shook Gloria's hand first, then Keisha's, then Alicia's, with a gentleness that surprised her. "I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances," Howard said. Alicia gestured to the living room. "I didn't plan a collapse at a gala, if that helps." Howard's mouth twitched. "No one plans the moment their life changes. The smart ones plan what happens after." He set a leather folder on the coffee table and opened it with the care of a surgeon. "Keisha told me you want estate planning," he said. "Immediately." Alicia nodded. "I want my children protected." Howard's eyes softened. "You're pregnant?" "Triplets," Keisha said, like she still couldn't believe it. Howard paused, as if letting the words settle. "Triplets," he repeated quietly. "Okay, then we're not talking about a simple will. We're talking about a structure." Gloria leaned forward. "What kind of structure?" Howard spoke like someone reading a blueprint. "A living trust to avoid probate, an irrevocable trust for children to protect principal assets. Guardianship provisions, medical power of attorney, especially given her heart condition, and," he added, looking directly at Alicia, "we need to consider the hospice scenario." Alicia's throat tightened. "Hospice?" Howard didn't flinch. "I've represented families in situations like yours. When illness becomes public, when money is involved, people get creative. They push access. They push influence. They push the narrative. A hospice clause can limit who enters the home, who provides care, who makes decisions when you're medically vulnerable." Keisha said it first. "Like blocking a mistress." Howard's gaze flicked to Keisha. "If that's a concern, yes." Alicia felt heat rise in her chest. Anger, shame, grief, all braided together. She kept her voice calm. "It's a concern." Howard nodded once, no surprise in him at all. "Then we build a fence with barbed wire and cameras." Keisha lifted her eyebrows. "I like him." Howard ignored the humor. "Let's start with the assets. Alicia, what's in your name? What's joint? What's in Damien's name?" Alicia swallowed. "I don't know everything. Damien handles most of it." Gloria's lips pressed into a thin line. "Of course he does." Howard made notes. "We can obtain statements. We can subpoena later if necessary. But for now, we build with what we have. Your father left you a substantial separate inheritance, correct?" Alicia nodded. "Yes, my father's investment portfolio, the cabin in North Carolina, a retirement account, all in a trust until I turned 30. Howard's pen moved. "Good. Separate property. We can shield that. And Damien's holdings, company equity, trusts, real estate. Those are trickier, but not impossible." "Can he just give money away?" Alicia asked. If there's someone else, can he move things?" Howard's voice stayed steady. "He can try. That's why we move faster." He slid documents toward Alicia. "I'm going to draft an irrevocable trust for the children. Once it's funded, neither you nor Damien can pull principal out for personal use. Trustees will manage distributions for the children's care, education, and health. It will keep assets out of anyone's direct control." Alicia stared at the words, at the calm legal language that felt like a lock clicking into place. "And guardianship?" she asked. Howard tapped another page. "You can nominate Gloria as primary guardian, Keisha as alternate. We can also include a conditional guardianship clause tied to Damien's behavior. Gloria's eyes sharpened. Explain. Howard didn't sugarcoat. If Damien remarries within a certain period, or cohabitates with an unapproved partner, or allows an unapproved caregiver access to the children, guardianship can shift automatically. Keisha exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. That's protective, Howard finished. Alicia swallowed hard. What about medical decisions? If I'm in hospice, if I can't. Howard nodded. We name a medical proxy. Gloria. We name a backup. Renee, perhaps, or Keisha. We outline your wishes clearly. Alicia's voice shook now, finally. I want the babies prioritized. Gloria's hand covered hers. We know. Howard's eyes held Alicia's. Then we make it explicit. He flipped to a blank page. Now about the hospice clause. We can define a protected care environment. We specify who has access to you and the children. We can require background checks for any in-home caregiver. We can forbid any person with whom Damien has a romantic relationship from entering the home or providing care. And we can tie violation to guardianship consequences. Keisha's mouth opened. That's a hospice clause in a will? Howard's tone stayed clinical. It's in the trust and in a separate care directive. It becomes enforceable through the trustees and guardianship mechanism. If Damien violates it, he triggers an automatic shift. Alicia felt a cold clarity move through her veins. So if he tries to bring her into my house, he loses control, Howard said. He loses decision-making authority. And if he fights it, he fights against documents he signed, or documents enforced by trustees. Alicia stared at the paper and pictured a door she could lock. Howard continued, but none of this matters if Damien refuses to sign or tries to contest. Keisha leaned forward. He'll sign if he thinks it's standard estate planning, Gloria said. He won't read it. Alicia's stomach tightened. How do we get him to sign without raising suspicion? Howard's eyes flicked to Gloria, then back to Alicia. We do it the way men like Damien operate. We tell him it's efficient, necessary, and good optics. A family with triplets and a high-profile CEO needs a solid plan. We frame it as protection for him and the company's reputation. Alicia nodded slowly. He cares about reputation. Howard slid his folder closed. Then we use that. He stood. I'll draft. I'll bring documents in 48 hours. Keisha's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then looked up with a grim smile. Marcus, she said. He has something already. Alicia's chest tightened. Already? Keisha nodded. He doesn't waste time. She put the call on speaker. Marcus Delaney's voice came through, low, calm, professional. Ms. Grant, he said. I followed Mr. Whitaker last night, after he left the house. Alicia's pulse spiked. Gloria squeezed her hand. Where did he go? Keisha asked. Marcus paused, like he was choosing words to keep a heart from breaking. He didn't go to the office, Marcus said. He went to a high-rise on Peachtree, private residence, stayed 2 hours, then drove to a hotel near Midtown, met a woman in the lobby. Alicia's throat tightened. A woman? Yes, Marcus said. Blonde, late 20s or early 30s, designer bag, confident walk. Keisha's voice turned sharp. Did you get photos? I did, Marcus replied. I'm sending them now via encrypted link. Alicia stared at her phone as the notification arrived. Her fingers hovered above the screen like it might burn her. Gloria said softly, Open it. Alicia opened it. The first photo showed Damien exiting the hotel with the woman beside him, his hand on the small of her back like it belonged there. The second showed them in a restaurant booth, her lipstick bright against a wine glass. His smile relaxed in a way Alicia hadn't seen in years. The third, closer, crueler, caught their mouths together in a kiss that wasn't hesitant. There was no ambiguity, no plausible story, no room for denial. Alicia's body went cold, then hot, then numb. Keisha whispered, I'm sorry. Alicia didn't cry, not yet. She stared at the pictures until the world narrowed into pixels and betrayal. "How long?" Alicia asked, voice flat. Marcus's voice through the speaker was sympathetic but steady. "Hard to confirm yet, but based on frequency patterns and a few credit card hits I pulled, at least a year." Alicia's breath left her in a quiet, broken sound. A year. That meant during the last fertility clinic appointment, during the last round of hormones that made her nauseous and swollen and hopeful, during the nights she'd cried in the shower so Damien wouldn't hear. "He was with her," Alicia whispered. Gloria's face went rigid. "Coward!" Keisha sat beside Alicia, eyes bright with fury. "Who is she?" Marcus answered. "Sloane Mercer. Works in the financial division of Whitaker Group. Recently promoted to Director of Strategic Initiatives. She has access to executive schedules and company accounts." Alicia's stomach rolled. "So she's inside." "Yes," Marcus said. "And she's careful. But careful people still leave trails." Keisha leaned close to the phone. "I want the trail, every piece." "You'll have it," Marcus promised. "Timeline, receipts, locations. I'll find the angles." The call ended. Howard Langston hadn't moved from the doorway. He'd watched the photos appear, watched Alicia's face change, watched an entire marriage collapse into evidence. "I'm going to say something hard," Howard said quietly. Alicia's voice was thin. "Say it." "If she's in finance and strategic initiatives," Howard said, "this is not just an affair. It's a potential access point. A mistress inheritance scheme doesn't require a marriage. It requires influence. It requires paper." Alicia's hands shook now. She pressed them to her belly like she could physically shield the babies from the idea of paper. "What do we do?" she asked. Howard's tone turned sharper. "We accelerate everything. We get signatures. We get documents notarized. We create the irrevocable trust for children, and we fund it as aggressively as possible. And," he added, "we get paternity established." Keisha blinked. "Paternity?" Howard looked at Alicia. "If Damien ever contests, if Sloane ever tries to argue the children aren't his to weaken their claim, we shut that down. A prenatal paternity test can be done safely now. Non-invasive." Alicia felt the weight of that. DNA as a lock. DNA as a shield. "I can ask Renee," she said. Gloria's voice was firm. "Ask today." That afternoon, Alicia called Renee and told her everything. She didn't spare details. Renee listened in silence, then said very softly, "Oh, Alicia." "I'm not asking you to fix my marriage," Alicia said. "I'm asking you to help me protect my babies." Renee's voice steadied. "What do you need?" "A prenatal paternity test," Alicia said. "Non-invasive, something that holds up legally, something that can't be questioned." Renee exhaled. "Yes, we can do that at your 20-week scan, or sooner, depending on fetal fraction. It's a blood draw from you, no risk to the babies." "Do it," Alicia said. "And Renee?" "Yes." "If it comes down to choices," Alicia whispered, "choose them." Renee's voice broke. "I already promised." Over the next 2 weeks, Alicia moved like a woman living 2 lives. In one life, she was the wife. Soft voice, calm smile, careful questions. She thanked Damien for bringing her tea. She let him kiss her forehead. She told him she was doing okay and staying positive. In the other life, she was building an escape hatch made of legal paper and cold facts. Howard drafted like a man who understood predators. He wrote clauses that didn't rely on emotion. He wrote consequences. The hospice clause was the heart of it. Howard called it a protected care provision, but Keisha called it what it was. "A tripwire," Keisha said, flipping through pages in Alicia's living room while Gloria watched like a guard. Alicia traced the paragraph with her finger. If Damien Whitaker introduced any romantic partner into the primary residence during Alicia's hospice care, or within 5 years of her passing, he would lose decision-making authority over distributions and caregiving arrangements. If he allowed that person access to the children in the residence, Guardianship shifted to Gloria automatically until the Board of Trustees reviewed. It was legal language. It was also a warning. Alicia felt something like power when she read it. "I hate that I'm doing this," Alicia admitted one night, as Gloria measured her blood pressure. Gloria didn't look up. "No, you hate that you have to do this." Keisha's phone buzzed across the room. Another update from Marcus, another location, another receipt. Damien came home late, smelling like a hotel lobby and someone else's perfume. And Alicia asked sweetly, "How was the meeting?" He said, "Long," and went straight to the shower. Alicia watched him disappear and thought, "You have no idea what you've awakened." Howard's plan required one critical element, Damien's signature. "Do not underestimate him," Howard warned. "He may be careless, but he's not stupid. If he senses a trap, he'll refuse." "So we make it look like a gift," Keisha said. Alicia nodded. "A gift for the children." The dinner Alicia made was a performance. Not in the fake way women perform to keep men comfortable, but in the strategic way you perform when you need a man to believe your story long enough to sign his name. She cooked Damien's favorite meal, roasted chicken with garlic, mashed potatoes, fresh bread. Gloria handled the timing like a nurse running a shift. Keisha set the table like it was a holiday. Damien walked in at 7, surprised, pleased. He smiled. For a moment, Alicia saw the man she'd married years ago before money hardened him into a stranger. "What's the occasion?" he asked. Alicia smiled softly. "No occasion. I just wanted something normal, before everything gets harder." Damien's gaze flicked to her belly, slightly rounded now. "You look good," he said. Alicia swallowed the bitterness. "I'm trying." They ate. Damien talked about work in vague generalities. Gloria asked polite questions that were actually traps. Where, when, who. Damien answered without thinking. Gloria filed it away. After dinner, Alicia placed Howard's folder on the table like it was boring. "Howard sent these," she said casually. "Estate planning. With triplets coming, he said we need to update everything." Damien barely glanced at the papers. "Is this necessary already?" "It's standard," Alicia said. "You're a CEO. We're high profile. The last thing we need is probate drama or public mess if anything happens." Damien nodded. "Yeah, true." He flipped to the signature page like a man who believed paperwork was beneath him. "Where do I sign?" he asked. Alicia's pulse thudded. "Here, and here, and initial these." Damien signed, page after page, barely reading, his attention drifting to his phone when it buzzed. Once, he smiled at the screen before catching himself. Alicia kept her face soft. She watched him sign away the ability to gift her baby's future to a woman he thought was waiting to inherit it. When he pushed the folder back, he kissed her forehead. "Good," he said. "Now we're set." He stood. "I've got one more call." He went to his study and shut the door. The click sounded different this time, not like he was locking her out, like Alicia was locking him out. Gloria exhaled slowly. He didn't read a word. Keisha stared at the signatures, awe and anger mixing in her eyes. He really thinks he's untouchable. Alicia gathered the papers with hands that finally steadied. Not anymore. Howard notarized everything the next morning. He filed what needed filing. He assembled the board of trustees, Gloria, Keisha, Renee, and 2 independent financial advisors. Howard trusted. Alicia watched the structure take shape like scaffolding around a fragile building. Her heart still faltered. Her ankles still swelled. Her breath still shortened. But the fortress grew. At 20 weeks, Renee performed the prenatal paternity test without Damien's knowledge. Damien came to the scan because it was good optics, because men like him wanted to be seen as involved. He held Alicia's hand for the nurse, smiled at the screen, asked if they were healthy. Alicia refused to learn the genders. "I want to be surprised," she said, and for once it was true. She wanted something in her life that wasn't calculated. Renee drew blood afterward and told Damien it was routine labs. He didn't ask questions. 2 days later, Renee called Alicia. Her voice trembled. Results are back. Alicia sat at her kitchen table, Gloria across from her, Keisha pacing like a guard dog. Tell me, Alicia said. 99.9%, Renee whispered. Damien is the father of all three. Alicia closed her eyes. Relief and grief collided inside her chest. Send it to Howard, Gloria said immediately. Alicia did. The DNA results became another brick in the wall. And then the war walked through her front door smiling. It happened on a Thursday morning. Alicia was in the living room with Gloria, sorting baby clothes that had arrived in neat, hopeful boxes. Keisha had stepped out for coffee. The house smelled like detergent and new fabric, and the faint iron tang of Alicia's prenatal vitamins. The doorbell rang. Gloria glanced through the peephole, then opened the door without hesitation. A woman stood on the porch holding a tray, 2 decaf lattes, and a paper bag from an expensive bakery. She was beautiful in the way some women learned to be on purpose. Hair smooth, makeup flawless, outfit casual but curated. She wore soft designer athleisure like armor. Her smile was bright, practiced. Mrs. Whitaker? She asked. Alicia's stomach went cold. Even before she heard the name, she knew. I'm Sloane Mercer, the woman said. Damien mentioned you might need help around the house. He thought it would be nice if I stopped by. Gloria's expression didn't shift, but Alicia saw the tension in her shoulders. Sloane stepped inside like she belonged there. Her perfume drifted, expensive, sweet, invasive. 2 decaf lattes, she said cheerfully, and gluten-free muffins. I read pregnant women should limit caffeine. Alicia took the tray with hands that felt too steady for what was happening. Thank you, Alicia said, smiling back. Because politeness was a mask, and Alicia had learned to wear it better than anyone. Sloane's eyes moved through the living room, over family photos, over furniture, over the staircase, cataloging, measuring, recording. So, Sloane said lightly, how are you feeling? Damien said the pregnancy has been complicated. Gloria's voice cut in like a blade. It's a medical matter. Sloane laughed, pretending warmth. Of course, Damien worries. He talks about you all the time. The lie landed slick and effortless. Alicia nodded as if she believed it. He's very thoughtful. Sloane's gaze drifted to Alicia's belly. And triplets, she breathed, like she was admiring a luxury item. That's so rare, like a miracle. It is, Alicia said. Sloane sat on the couch without waiting for invitation. I'm organizing some things at work, she said. Damien's schedule has been insane. I thought maybe I could take something off your plate. Groceries, appointments, even nursery planning. Nursery planning. The word made Alicia's skin prickle. The nursery was upstairs, still empty, still sacred. Sloane was talking like she deserved a key. Alicia kept her smile soft. That's very kind, but my mother's here. Gloria didn't smile. And I'm more than enough. Sloane's eyes flicked to Gloria, then back to Alicia. Of course, it's just, with your health, you'll need support. Damien and I talked about hiring an in-home care coordinator when the time comes, someone who understands hospice transitions. Hospice. The word landed like ice water. Alicia's heartbeat stuttered. Gloria's fingers tightened around her teacup. Sloane continued, voice sweet. It would be such a relief to have someone there. For you, for the babies, for Damien. Alicia stared at her. For Damien. Not for Alicia. Not for the babies. For Damien. Alicia felt anger rise, hot and dangerous, but she kept her voice calm. We'll handle it, Alicia said. Sloane's smile didn't falter. Of course. I just want you to know I'm here. Anything you need. Her eyes drifted again, this time to the hallway where the study door sat closed. She was looking at the house like it had already changed hands. After an hour of polite conversation that felt like a war fought with smiles, Sloane stood. I'll check in next week, she said, kissing Alicia's cheek lightly like they were friends. Alicia didn't flinch. She let the kiss land. She let Sloane think she'd won a tiny piece of access. The moment the door closed, Gloria spoke. "That woman wants you gone." Alicia set the coffee down with a careful hand. "I know." Gloria's eyes were hard. "Damien sent her." Alicia's throat tightened. "He thinks it looks helpful." "No," Gloria said. "He thinks it looks convenient." Keisha burst through the door 20 minutes later, coffee in hand, then froze when she saw Alicia's face. "What happened?" Keisha demanded. Alicia whispered, "She came here." Keisha's eyes flared. "Who?" "Sloane Mercer," Gloria answered. "In our house, talking about hospice like it's a calendar event." Keisha's mouth fell open, then snapped shut. "Oh, she's bold." Alicia pulled out her phone and showed Keisha the security camera notification she'd set up quietly the day before at Howard's suggestion. It recorded Sloane stepping onto the porch, recorded her entering, recorded her leaving. Evidence. Alicia's voice was soft. "She's not just an affair." Keisha nodded, rage contained. "She's positioning," Gloria leaned in. "And now you know what she wants." Alicia looked up the staircase toward the nursery. 3 cribs would sit in that room soon. 3 small people who would need protection long after Alicia's heart stopped. Alicia's voice turned quiet and deadly. "Then we make sure she never gets within 10 feet of them." Keisha's phone was already out. "Marcus," she said, thumb moving. "I need cameras. I need recordings. I need everything. If she wants to play chess, we'll show her what the board looks like." Alicia's hand returned to her belly. She felt a flutter, tiny, almost imaginary. Then another, and for the first time, the miracles inside her answered back. Alicia closed her eyes and whispered, "I'm here." Then she opened them and said, "And I'm not done." Because in a war like this, the most dangerous opponent isn't the mistress who thinks she's winning. It's the mother who already accepted death and decided to use every remaining heartbeat to build a fortress no one can breach. 2 days after Sloane's visit, Howard Langston called with a new kind of urgency. "I ran a deeper check on Sloane Mercer," he said. "Not the polished resume, the part people don't post." Alicia was standing in the nursery doorway, dizzy from a short walk, watching Gloria assemble a crib with relentless focus. "And?" Alicia asked. "There are gaps," Howard replied. "References that don't connect. Verification routed through a service that looks manufactured. It doesn't prove a crime, but it proves she's hiding something, or she's been constructed." Keisha's eyes narrowed. "Predators build identities." Howard didn't disagree. "Which is why we involve someone with more authority than any of us." Gloria answered before Alicia could. "Harrison." Damien's father. Alicia had met Harrison Whitaker only a handful of times in 15 years. He lived in Seattle, loved his son from a distance, and spoke in outcomes. Still, he was family, and family could be a shield when money attracted teeth. Harrison arrived on Tuesday without warning. Alicia was at the hospital when the nurse said, "There's a Mr. Whitaker asking for you." She expected Damien. She walked into the family lounge and found Harrison by the window. Silver hair immaculate, posture straight, presence heavy. "You look tired," he said. "I'm pregnant with triplets," Alicia replied, "and my heart is failing." Something flickered behind his control. Shock, then anger he swallowed. "I came as soon as Gloria called," he said. "Tell me what's happening with Damien." Alicia told him the truth. The photos, the hotels, the lies. Sloane stepping into her home and saying hospice like it was a scheduling option. Harrison's face went cold. "I suspected weakness. Not this." "You knew?" Alicia whispered. "I protect the brand," he said, blunt. "When whispers started about a young woman positioning near him, I had her looked at." He slid a file across the table. "Sloane Mercer isn't her real name." Alicia's breath caught. "Then what is it?" "Lila Van Dorn," Harrison said. "Multiple identities. A pattern. Wealthy men in transition. She embeds, then extracts." Alicia's hands shook as she flipped through photos and background reports. 2 wealthy men dead under unfortunate circumstances. One settlement sealed. Does Damien know? Alicia asked. I tried to tell him, Harrison said, bitterness edging his words. He called me controlling. Alicia laughed once, sharp. Of course he did. Harrison opened another folder. I'm changing my will. Damien won't inherit the family estate. It goes to your children in trust. You're trustee while you're alive. Gloria after you. Damien gets salary, nothing else. Alicia stared. Why? Because right now, Harrison said, you are the only person behaving like family. The choice came sooner than Alicia expected. That Friday, the hospital hosted its donor reception. Speeches, champagne, glossy gratitude. Renee begged Alicia to skip it, but Harrison insisted. Show them you're still standing, he said. Predators love a dying woman because they assume she's already lost. So Alicia went. Gloria helped her into a maternity dress that hid how fragile she felt. Keisha pinned her hair and whispered, We're not here to cry. We're here to win. Damien spotted her, hurried over with concern that looked real because it was public. You shouldn't be here. I'm fine, Alicia said. I'm supporting the hospital. Harrison stepped beside them. The air tightened. Dad, Damien said, startled. There's no good place for this conversation, Harrison replied, voice loud enough to draw ears. You've been abandoning your dying wife. Damien's face flushed. I'm not. You brought her into Alicia's home, Harrison cut in. And you're being played. The doors opened behind them. Heels clicked on marble. Sloane, Lila, walked in like she belonged there. She smiled at Damien, then saw Alicia and Harrison and the watching crowd. Her smile wavered, then returned, trained back into place. Damien, leave, Harrison said. Sloane blinked. Excuse me? I have files, Harrison replied, calm and lethal. Your identity, your pattern. If you come near my grandchildren again, I will make sure everyone knows exactly what you are. For the first time, Sloane's composure cracked. She looked to Damien for rescue. Damien didn't move. Harrison turned to his son. Choose, your wife and children, or her. Damien opened his mouth, then closed it, trapped by the crowd's judgment. I cut you off this morning, Harrison added. The estate is redirected to your children. Papers filed. Sloane understood instantly. No money meant no point. Her eyes slid to Alicia, cold hate, and then she walked out, heels snapping like gunshots. Alicia's lungs burned. Her heart fluttered dangerously, but she stayed upright. Keisha slipped an arm around her waist. That night, Alicia set her phone on a tripod in the nursery and hit record. Hi, my babies, she whispered. If you're watching this, it means I didn't get enough time. So I'm leaving you pieces of me. Not because I'm giving up, because I'm fighting, but because I'm preparing. At 27 weeks, Alicia woke to warmth between her legs. Water. She stared at the sheets, then at Gloria in the doorway, and said, strangely calm, Mom, I think my water just broke. Gloria moved fast. Keys, shoes, a hand under Alicia's elbow. Keisha was already calling Renee, and as the hospital lights swallowed her again, Alicia pressed both hands to her belly and whispered into the chaos. Hold on, please, hold on a little longer. Labor and delivery smelled like bleach and warmed plastic, a clean kind of panic. Nurses moved fast, voices clipped. Renee appeared in scrubs, hair pulled back, eyes sharp the way they got when she was trying not to be afraid. 27 weeks, she said after the exam, gloved fingers gentle but firm. Your membranes ruptured early. We need to buy time. Alicia gripped the rails as a contraction tightened low and vicious. How much time? As much as we can steal, Renee answered. Steroids for the baby's lungs, magnesium to slow labor, strict bed rest. Every day matters. The magnesium hit like fire under her skin. Her face flushed, nausea rolled. Her heart, already stubborn and fragile, fluttered in protest. Monitors beeped in uneven rhythms that sounded like arguments. Gloria stood at the bedside, jaw set. Keisha filled out paperwork and called Howard, then Marcus, then Harrison. An army mobilized around a woman trapped in a hospital bed. Damien arrived hours later with a frightened expression that looked real, until Alicia noticed the faint trace of perfume clinging to his collar. "I came as soon as I could," he said. Gloria's voice was ice. "You came eventually." Damien ignored her and took Alicia's hand. "Are you okay?" "I'm here," Alicia said. "The babies are here. That's what matters." He stayed 40 minutes, made 2 calls in the hallway, then kissed Alicia's forehead like a ritual and left. "I'll be back tomorrow," he promised. He wasn't. 3 days passed. Gloria slept in the visitor chair. Keisha rotated shifts with Grace, who came with snacks and stubborn hope. Howard delivered updated documents to the hospital, made Alicia initial changes between blood pressure checks and fetal monitoring. Renee kept the contractions quiet, held the line with medication and vigilance, but Alicia could feel her body working against them, like it was trying to finish the story before the ending was ready. One night, Alicia rolled her wheelchair down to the NICU wing, rooms waiting for babies, just to breathe different air. She found a nurse at the desk and asked, "Who's on my approved list?" "Your mother, your husband, your friend Keisha," the nurse said. Alicia's voice stayed steady. "Remove Sloane Mercer, any variation of that name. She is not family." The nurse didn't ask questions. Done. When Alicia returned to her room, there was a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Alicia. Damien told me you're in the hospital. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, I can bring it." Alicia took a screenshot and forwarded it to Howard with one line. "Document everything. At 30 weeks exactly, her contractions returned at 2:00 a.m. Real this time, 5 minutes apart, sharp enough to steal her breath." The nurse rushed in. Renee followed. The room filled with rolling carts and bright lights. Renee met Alicia's eyes. "We did what we could," she said. "Now we deliver." Alicia pressed both hands to her belly as another contraction ripped through her. Somewhere inside her, 3 hearts kept beating, stubborn as hope. "Okay," Alicia whispered. "Bring them to me." The operating room smelled like iodine and cold steel, the kind of clean that never feels comforting because it means something has already gone wrong. Charlotte lay flat under the harsh lights while the anesthesia team worked fast. Voices clipped, hands moving with practiced urgency. A blue drape rose between her face and her belly like a curtain she wasn't allowed to look behind. She wanted to see them. She wanted to witness the moment her body finally did the impossible. But all she could do was listen. "Heart rate's unstable. Pressure's up. Ready on the warmer?" Dr. Rebecca Walsh's eyes hovered above the drape, steady and fierce. "Stay with me," she said. "Charlie, breathe. Just breathe." Charlotte tried. Her failing heart beat like it was running from something. She pictured 3 tiny faces, 3 futures, 3 reasons to keep fighting when every muscle in her body begged to quit. Then the first cry cut through the room, thin, angry, alive. "Baby a nurse announced. "Female, 2 pounds, 3 ounces." Charlotte sobbed once, a sound that came out broken and grateful. "Hi," she whispered, though the baby was already being carried away to the NICU, wrapped in warmth and wires and frantic love. A second cry followed, smaller, rougher, like it had to climb out of the dark. "Baby B," someone said. "Male, 2 pounds even." Charlotte's mouth trembled. "My son," she breathed. Her palms were numb. Her feet were numb. But her mind wasn't. Her mind stayed sharp because it had to. Then the third baby arrived with a bold, furious wail that filled the room like a declaration. "Baby C," the nurse said, almost smiling. "Female, 2 pounds, 4 ounces." 3. 3 perfect, impossible miracles. Charlotte's chest lifted in a shaky exhale, and for a brief moment, she believed she'd beaten the clock. Rebecca's voice snapped her back. "Charlotte, look at me!" Charlotte's vision tunneled. The lights smeared. Somewhere, alarms rose in pitch. "She's in arrhythmia." "We're losing her." Charlotte heard Margaret's voice from somewhere far away, praying like a woman who didn't believe in losing. She felt pressure on her chest. She tasted copper, then everything went black. When she woke, the world was beeps and tubes and a dry ache in her throat. ICU. She knew it before she opened her eyes because ICU always has the same sound. The steady, mechanical insistence of machines doing what bodies can't. Margaret sat beside the bed with her hands folded, eyes red but unbroken. Grace was there too, hair pulled back, phone in her lap, like she'd been holding the whole world on mute. "You scared us," Margaret said, voice rough. "You coded twice." Charlotte swallowed against the ventilator burn. "The babies?" "Alive," Grace said quickly. "In the NICU, fighting. All three." Charlotte let her eyes close. Relief hit first, then grief, sharp and immediate. She'd given them life, and it had nearly taken all of hers. Nate arrived later, pale and shaken, wearing worry like it was new on him. "They told me you died," he said, voice breaking. "Twice." Charlotte tried to smile. It felt like moving a bruise. "I'm stubborn," she rasped. Nate cried, real tears. He held her hand like it mattered. He promised to change, to be present, to stop running, to choose his family. Charlotte wanted to believe him. The part of her that still remembered love tried to reach for that promise. Margaret watched him with the quiet contempt of a nurse who has seen too many men perform regret when consequences finally show up. 2 days later, they wheeled Charlotte down to the NICU. The hallway lights were dim. The air smelled like sanitizer and warmed plastic. The unit hummed with soft alarms and whispered voices. A cathedral of small lives trying to stay. 3 isolates lined up like glowing boxes. 3 fragile bodies inside them, each one wrapped in tape and wires and hope. Emma slept with her mouth slightly open, breathing on her own. Oliver was smaller, chest rising with mechanical precision under a ventilator's rhythm. Sophia stared up at the world with wide, unafraid eyes, as if she'd been waiting for it. Charlotte reached through the port and touched Emma's tiny hand. The fingers curled around hers with surprising strength. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm your mom. I'm here." She moved from isolette to isolette, talking to them like words could be blankets. Grace stood behind her, wiping her eyes. Margaret took notes on feeding schedules like this was a new kind of nursing shift. Nate visited, but not enough. Always an excuse. Always a meeting. Always a crisis. Charlotte didn't fight him for attention anymore. She didn't have the energy. Her focus narrowed to what mattered. 3 newborns, and the legal fortress she'd built to keep them safe. Ethan Monroe came to the hospital with a portable notary and a calm face. "Everything is filed," he told Charlotte. "The estate planning is complete. The irrevocable trust is active. The children are the beneficiaries. The trustees have full authority." Charlotte's eyes stung. "He can't change it?" "No," Ethan said. "He can't touch principal. He can't redirect beneficiaries. And if he violates the guardianship conditions, custody shifts the way you wanted." Charlotte nodded slowly. "Good." Rebecca handed Charlotte a sealed envelope that afternoon. "DNA results," she said softly. "For the file." Charlotte pressed the envelope to her chest, feeling her heart beat wrong beneath it. "Thank you." "It's not about revenge," Rebecca whispered. "I know," Charlotte said. "It's about protection." The babies improved in inches, ounces, slow victories. Then, 8 weeks after delivery, they came home in stages. Emma first, then Sophia, then finally Oliver, still needing extra oxygen and patience. The house transformed overnight into a living proof that miracles are messy. 3 bassinets filled the bedroom. Bottles crowded every counter. Baby monitors blinked like watchful eyes. Night nurses rotated in quiet shifts because Charlotte's heart was too weak to lift 3 infants alone. Nate moved out the same week Oliver came home. He called it space. He said the stress was too much. He said he'd be nearby. He said he loved his children. Margaret watched him pack and said simply, "Coward." Charlotte didn't cry. She felt empty where anger should have been. Maybe she'd used it all drafting trust language, signing notarized pages, and building a barrier against a mistress who thought grief was an opening. She spent her remaining strength recording videos. In the rocking chair, with 3 babies asleep behind her, Charlotte spoke into a camera like it was a time machine. She recorded first birthdays, fifth birthdays, graduation speeches, wedding day blessings. She recorded practical lessons: how to make her spaghetti sauce, how to change a tire, how to speak up in a room full of men who assume you'll stay quiet. She recorded one video for Nate, too, marked, "Play after I'm gone." In it, she didn't scream. She didn't beg. She spoke like a woman who had accepted the worst and still chose clarity. With her eyes open. "I loved you," she told the camera, "but you broke something, and I don't have time to fix it. I'm leaving it broken." Then she explained the trust, the guardianship clause, the line he could never cross. "You can be their father," she said, "but you can't bring her near them. Respect that or lose them." Charlotte died on a quiet morning with the baby monitor humming in the background and Margaret holding her hand. She was 36 years old. She'd been a mother for 3 months and a strategist for 6. They buried her on a day that looked too beautiful for grief. Blue sky, soft breeze, sunlight like mercy. Nate sat in the front row wearing sorrow like a suit. Vivian stayed away, advised by lawyers and PR. In headlines, it was a billionaire husband, a high-risk triplet pregnancy, and a trust battle nobody expected to lose today. 2 days later, Nate walked into Ethan's office expecting sympathy. He found a conference table filled. Margaret, Grace, Jack Thornton, Rebecca, Ethan, and 3 independent trustees Nate didn't recognize. Ethan stood. "We're here to review Charlotte's estate." Nate frowned. "Why are there so many people?" "Because your wife planned for everything," Ethan said. He read the terms: the estate planning, the irrevocable trust for the children, Nate's salary-only allowance, no control over principal, no ability to move assets. Then the guardianship clause, automatic transfer if he remarried within 5 years or moved the children into a home with anyone not approved by the board. Nate's face drained. "This can't be right." Ethan slid the notarized signature page across the table. "You signed it." "I didn't read it." Margaret's voice was flat. "That's your problem." Ethan opened a laptop. "There's a video." Nate's throat worked. "Play it." Charlotte's face filled the screen, paler than life, but steady. Eyes bright with the kind of clarity that comes when you're out of time. "Hi, Nate," she said. "If you're watching this, you're sitting in this room learning about the trust and the guardianship clause. I know you're angry, but I need you to understand, I did this out of love." She paused, letting her words land like truth. "You cheated while I was dying," Charlotte continued. "You let a woman into my home who spoke about inheritance like it was her schedule, and you thought my death would be your clean beginning." Nate flinched. Grace didn't. "So I chose them," Charlotte said. "I chose their security over your comfort. I chose protection over pride, and I would do it again 1,000 times." Then her voice softened, just a little. "But I left you a door. Choose your children. Show up. Be present. Be better. Or choose her and lose everything." The screen went black. Nate sat motionless, eyes wet, grief and shame mixing into something that looked like understanding. Nate stepped into the hallway afterward with his phone shaking in his hand. It rang, Vivian's number saved under a harmless name, like camouflage. He answered the 4th time. "Not now," he hissed. "When, Nate?" Her voice purred, then sharpened. "Your wife is gone. The obstacle is gone. We can finally—" "Stop," he said. "Don't call her that." "You promised me," Vivian snapped. "You said once hospice started, once the estate planning was done, once the lawyers—" Nate's stomach dropped. Hospice. Estate planning. She'd been tracking the same milestones Charlotte had, only for a reason. Not love. Leverage. A mistress inheritance scheme doesn't start at the will reading. It starts at the bedside. "There is no estate," Nate said. "It's in a trust. An irrevocable trust for children. I can't touch it. I can't give you anything. Silence. Then an inhale on the line. Then contest it. I can't. Fight it, she insisted. Say you didn't understand. Say she was unstable. Say— She wasn't, Nate whispered. She was right. Vivian's voice went cold, stripped of sweetness. So you're choosing them. I am. You're making a mistake, she said. And for the first time there was no mask, only threat. Nate hung up, blocked the number for good, and froze. Behind him, the conference room door stayed shut, holding Charlotte's voice inside like verdict. Then he walked back into the conference room, feeling like a man who had finally found the bottom of himself and realized there was still a way up. Ethan folded his hands. If you want to be their father, you can, under the conditions Charlotte set. Nate nodded slowly. I understand. Margaret stared at him like she could see the man he was and the man he might still become. Prove it, she said. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, Charlotte's plan clicked into place. The last sound of her marriage, not breaking, but locking, and in the nursery at home, 3 babies slept beneath a baby monitor's steady light. Protected by love turned into paperwork. By DNA results turned into armor. By a mother's last months turned into a fortress no one could breach. 1 year after Charlotte Hayes died, the house didn't feel like a mausoleum anymore. It felt like life. Not the polished, quiet life Charlotte used to curate. Fresh flowers, tidy counters, the kind of calm that makes grief echo louder. This was different. This was loud, sticky, chaotic. The kind of life that leaves fingerprints on every surface and forces you to laugh when you're too tired to cry. 3 high chairs sat in the dining room like thrones. 3 smash cakes waited on a plastic-covered table. Yellow balloons bobbed along the ceiling because Charlotte had refused to learn the genders during her high-risk pregnancy. She'd said yellow meant sunshine, hope, new beginnings. Margaret stood in the kitchen stirring a pot of macaroni with the same steady hands that had done CPR on her daughter, and then warmed bottles at 3 a.m. without complaining. Grace taped a banner that read, Happy First Birthday in crooked letters, because she couldn't stop crying long enough to make it straight. Jack Thornton arrived with outrageously expensive gifts no 1-year-old could appreciate, then pretended he hadn't insisted on them. And Nate hovered at the front door for a long moment before knocking, like he needed permission to enter a life he nearly destroyed. He didn't bring a limo. He didn't bring a PR team. He didn't bring excuses. He brought 3 small wrapped boxes and a nervous swallow. Margaret opened the door and studied him like she was taking vitals with her eyes. You look different, she said. I am, Nate replied quietly. Therapy does that. Consequences do that. Margaret's gaze held his for a beat longer than comfort. Then she stepped aside. Come in. They're in the living room. The babies heard his voice and turned like sunflowers. Emma, serious, observant, stared at him with Charlotte's eyes, as if evaluating whether he'd earned the right to exist here. Oliver made a small sound and waved both hands, still fighting through the lingering weakness of prematurity, but stronger every week. Sophia squealed and bounced in her seat, like joy had been coded into her DNA. Nate's face crumpled. He blinked hard. Grace leaned in beside him and whispered, They know you. They really do. He nodded once, throat too tight for words. The party started the way all first birthdays do. Too much noise, too much sugar, too much love. Emma approached her cake like a scientist, pinching frosting between 2 fingers and studying it before tasting. Oliver hesitated, overwhelmed by texture and mess, until Nate gently guided his hand and said, It's okay, buddy. We can do hard things. Sophia didn't hesitate at all. She leaned forward and planted her whole face into the frosting like she was making a promise to the world. Everyone laughed, even Margaret, especially Margaret because she hadn't laughed much in a year and she deserved to. After cake came gifts, and after gifts came the moment nobody knew how to prepare for. Margaret lifted one hand, quieting the room. The babies babbled, unaware that the air had changed. Charlotte made videos, Margaret said. Her voice didn't shake, but the pain lived under every syllable. For every milestone, birthdays, graduations, everything, and she made one for today. Grace's hand flew to her mouth. Jack stared at the floor like a man who'd built empires but still couldn't outbuild grief. Nate went still, the way you do when you hear the first note of a song that used to be yours. Margaret opened her laptop on the coffee table. The room gathered around like it was church. The babies fussed. Grace shifted them gently. Oliver's little hand gripped Nate's finger like an anchor. Then the screen filled with Charlotte. She looked thinner than anyone remembered. But she was smiling, really smiling, the way she had when she first saw those 3 heartbeats on an ultrasound and decided to fight. The light in her eyes made the room go quiet. "Hi, my babies," Charlotte said. "If you're watching this, then you're 1 year old, and I'm missing your party. But I need you to know something. I was there for the party that mattered most, the day you arrived." Her voice softened. "You came early. You came tiny. You came fighting. Emma, you watched the world like you were figuring it out from the start. Oliver, you were brave even when your body was tired. Sophia, you screamed the loudest, like you were telling everyone you weren't asking permission to live." A laugh broke through someone's tears. Grace. She laughed and cried at the same time. Charlotte continued, "I want you to remember this. Your life began in a storm, but you were never alone in it. You were surrounded by people who love you. Your grandmother Margaret, your Auntie Grace, your grandfather Jack, Dr. Rebecca, who helped bring you here, and your father." Nate's breath caught. Charlotte's eyes held the camera like she was looking straight through time. "Your father made mistakes," she said gently. "Big ones. And if you're old enough to understand those mistakes someday, I want you to understand something else too. Effort matters. Showing up matters. Getting back up matters. Give him the chance to be better. Let him earn it." Her smile trembled. "And you, my miracles. You are my heart, my legacy, my forever. Happy first birthday. Make it a good one." The video ended. For a moment, no one moved. The babies squealed at the sudden quiet, smearing frosting on each other like they were decorating the grief away. Nate stood and walked to the window. He didn't trust himself to stay in the circle of witnesses. Margaret joined him, her silhouette strong against the afternoon light. "I don't deserve this," Nate said, voice breaking. "The chance to know them after what I did." Margaret didn't soften the truth. "No," she said. "You don't." He flinched, like he expected the door to slam. But Margaret didn't slam it. She exhaled slowly and added, "Charlotte gave you this anyway. That's what grace looks like. The question isn't what you deserve. The question is what you'll do with what she left." Nate wiped his eyes. "I'll show up," he whispered. "Every day. I'll be the father she wanted them to have." Margaret nodded once. "Then do it." In the living room, Emma stacked blocks with careful concentration. Oliver leaned into Grace's shoulder, sleepy and safe. Sophia giggled at Jack's ridiculous faces. Life kept moving forward, loud and imperfect and real. Charlotte Hayes had died at 36. She'd been a mother for 3 months, but she had turned a death sentence into a love letter. She had turned trust documents into shields. She had turned DNA results into armor. She had built a fortress around 3 children who would grow up knowing, beyond doubt, that they were wanted. And if you're still here listening, if this story hit you in the chest the way it hit me, show some love by tapping that like button. Drop a comment and tell me this. Was Charlotte brilliant, ruthless, or both? And don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this, mothers who fight, families who rebuild, truth that refuses to stay buried, these stories deserve to be told. Because Charlotte didn't just win against a mistress, she won against time, and 3 heartbeats are living proof.